Hello and welcome to Trish Rock TV and Energy Shift. Changing energy, shifting perceptions. In this episode, we have the very inspiring and insightful Sally Freestun joining us. Maintaining a positive outlook in uncertain times. Sally is a coach, energy healer, angel messenger, and prolific traveler. From corporate boardroom to angelic realms and beach babe photographer, in 2004, Sally left behind 20 years in the corporate world to be an adventurer. Little did she imagine where the journey would take her and how a life of corporate sales and business development would prepare her for what was to come. Stops along the way, including property development, transport logistics, limo driver, dog walker, and even a stint at the local soccer canteen. A far cry from lobbying in boardrooms for multi-million-dollar accounts. In 2005, she was introduced to frequency in the form of reconnective healing. As her healing practice grew, the angelic realm made their presence known, using Sally to pass on information to her clients. Her corporate nature, combined with her down-to-earth, common sense approach and coaching certification to guide her clients through life's challenges with grace, humor, and dedication. And she is now helping other women to emerge from the cocoon of change. It's my great pleasure to welcome to the show, Sally. Welcome.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Wow, what a life you've lived so far, and so much more to come. And so interesting, isn't it? You would never have imagined life now 20 years ago. It's incredible how things change and things evolved. And
very much.
Yeah.
Very much, actually.
Yeah.
Coming up for 22 years living in Queensland. Yeah. And when I lived in Sydney prior to that, I was in the same home for 9 of 11 years that I lived in Sydney. And I think I've lost count of the number of homes I've lived in since I've lived in Queensland. It's been quite extraordinary.
Big adventure. So you do have that background in corporate. Tell us how you did transition to healing and reading.
Well, literally October this year, we're 22 years since I moved from Sydney to Queensland to take up the role of opening a hotel as opening sales manager. Yeah. And I had quite a number of years, I think it was 20 plus years in particularly the travel and tourism industry, very much in sales and marketing side of that. And then I married, and as part of the work that we were doing, we took early retirement. Love that term. I don't know that there is such a thing as retirement these days. Early retirement and moved into being entrepreneurial rather than working in the more corporate world. Yeah. And as part of that, we took a move from being downtown Brisbane to moving to the beach, which is something that we both wanted to do, and took on running a fleet of taxis. We had a fleet of limousines, and of course, if we were short a driver, I would just jump in and drive. So, and the guys knew that I was quite happy to do that. So, various different clients, from looking after aged care veterans to some very well-known identities kind of in the seat in my car. And from there, I was introduced to actually a real estate agent, because we were also doing property development at the time. And a real estate agent mentioned to me that she'd been away for a trade course in healing. And I said, well, what's this course you did? And I thought, oh, this sounds really interesting. Oh, I could do that. That sounds like something fun. Didn't really think much more about it at the time, because I was so busy with, we were doing property, we were developing properties, we had all kinds of things going on, and kind of juggling all of that, plus trying to live the beach lifestyle. And anyway, we were away on a holiday, and I actually damaged my ankle. We were away to ski. I didn't get to ski. I tripped on a cement step, and yeah, it was like, that was a bit clumsy, and down I've gone. And I couldn't breathe, which was really quite bizarre because I was like, but it's your ankle you hurt, so what's that got to do with anything? And it was like really quite bizarre. But it led me down a track of saying there's something's going on here. And I'd actually had a healing session with our friend earlier in that year.
Okay.
And little did I know that had actually been the catalyst for a whole host of change. And when I looked back over that year, the things that had actually taken place, even to the point previously that I had friends, giving me crystals and all kinds of things, and told me all these wonderful things about crystals. And I'm like, it's a really pretty stone, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, over that year, I'd had angels start to kind of come in through different friends. I'd had crystals kind of to the point that we had this wonderful collection of crystals that had kind of manifested itself into our home. And as part of it all, I had a healing session with this friend, and when I damaged my ankle on a particular holiday, it took me straight back to, I've done this 3 times. It's the same ankle, but it's at 10-year intervals. I get out and do all kinds of heels. I didn't own flat shoes other than a pair of runners. It was like all the corporate heels that I'd run around the city in. And I previously hadn't been able to wear heels for 4 months when I damaged my ankle. This time round, I was back trying on high heels in 4 days.
Wow.
Something massive had shifted. And so I was sitting there calling in, while everyone else was skiing, I was calling in angels, I was playing with crystals, and my injury was so quick and dramatic in its change that a couple of days later, my then husband damaged his tailbone when he was skiing. He took a nasty fall, and he's gone, well, having seen what you've done with yourself, can you do that to me? Because I'm in a lot of pain. And I'm just thinking, we're going to be awful on a plane coming back. We're in the States and coming back to Australia, and me with my ankle, up elevated, and him not being able to sit straight. And about the 3rd day of playing with what I was doing with him, he said, that's really weird, because the last couple of days it felt like heat. That felt like an ice pack. And I've gone, what's going on? What's happening with my hands? Because I was just playing to see what happened. And that kind of led me looking for a mentor. And about 6-7 months later, in the meantime, I'm looking everybody that's got any injury. I'm like, can I play? Can I see what happens? And about 7 months later, I found a book called The Reconnection, and I looked at it, and I'm like, this is what's happening. And my friends that were with me said, well, you're going to get it? No, weird people do that stuff. I'm a businesswoman. I don't do that. And sure enough, the 4th time I picked that book up, I bought it. And a month later, the course was being run in Brisbane. And my teacher lives in LA, travels the world, lives in LA, and he was running a course in Brisbane. So, of course, I ended up at the course, and I've done the work ever since. And then once the work came in, the angelic realm followed very quickly behind. And the next thing I knew, one of my dear friends who's been professionally reading since she was 16 started mentoring me, and she said to me, keep going, you're reading, and you're channeling. And I'm like, I'm what? She said, you're channeling, keep talking. And messages started coming through thick and fast. However, we then went through the whole crisis of the financial crisis, of the global financial crisis, which took all our property deals away and took everything else with the business along with it. It was like, this is not what you're meant to be doing. We need you in the healing realm, and we will make you go there. So, I say to people, don't ask for these things unless you're prepared to go with it, because once that journey starts, it will take you in very interesting places, but, it doesn't stop.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you were corporate, you would have seen all this as the woo-woo stuff, and people have a real block about it. But when you're actually living it, it's not woo-woo. It's a natural flow of life.
It's just life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So with your events, I know that you go to lots of really interesting events and have lots of interesting friends, and you help out at the events, and you really do surround yourself with positive, like-minded people that are in the business world, the personal development coaching world, the spiritual world. You kind of cover the whole realm. So how does that, apart from the joy of being around like-minded people, how does that help you with your growth and your teaching and coaching?
I guess one of the things that many of my friends have said that they find unusual with me, in that when they find out that I do reading, you do readings? How does that work? Readings and the healing work along with the coaching, is because I've had such a corporate background, and for so many years very much, you know, working in that level where I literally would walk into managing directors of companies, CEOs, even to the you're working with the government departments, with the likes of Boeing, for example, of going in and lobbying for their account in the travel industry, for example. So I had very much a corporate background that I'm then bringing this new agey kind of way of life to. So I don't tend to be the, you know, all the so many in our industry, unfortunately, rock up with all the fluey, flowy kind of things that while I've still got those, that doesn't define me. And so it's given me a greater understanding for people, and helping people to make that shift through, there's got to be more to life than what I've been living. And so that's been a part of it. And I've always had an appetite for, how does the brain work? What else is possible? What else don't we know that can make a really big difference to our world? You know, right from, I mean, that said, I was the kid that had a secret friend in the garden that I used to go and chat to. It was actually called Secret. I've been plying my mother with questions about it recently, going, well, what else do you remember about that? You know, that having kind of come from that corporate background, I still very much want to help others to bring that journey together. And I'm watching so many people who are going through massive change in their life, where they've been, the company's downsized and they're suddenly unemployed, and asking the question, there's got to be more to this. How do I find that? And so I really enjoy bringing tools together to help people make those changes, and watch how we do what we do, and how that can all bring together a greater understanding of our world and a greater understanding of us, and how we can help others as well. So whether it's been studying communication, one of the courses that I found fascinating is a model that NASA use when they're employing astronauts. So they need to know when someone's up there in a spaceship and there's a massive issue goes on, how they're going to operate under distress. And this particular model actually shows first degree, second degree, third degree stress, how they will perform, what will happen, and to help everyday people understand, well, but that's why when he does this is because this is his personality style, and that's how they perform. So if you're expecting them to do something different, I'm sorry, not going to happen. It doesn't matter but you can actually help them by doing this. But that's still their personality.
There's just so much that we don't know. We keep learning and learning. But that, you know, that kind of work is helping people come back to themselves and stop blaming the external. And it's really important work. So where has
you're just as likely to see me at a science festival where I'm spending time with people who study all those things, at the ologies, if you like. I actually caught up the other day with a maths professor who's a family friend who I haven't seen for years, but, you know, been a maths professor at a university in the States for the last 37 years. Through to yesterday I was with a group who are very much talking about heart space and how we can get more into our heart space and opening that place through meditation and greater diving into ourselves and greater understanding of our internal. So I love how we can bring all of those things together, particularly then helping people who are going through, as I touched when we went through the global financial crisis, and kind of all of the trappings of society were kind of stripped away, and I kind of went from, you know, moving in the society crowd of going to the polo to, okay, so how do I get enough money to pay for food in my fridge? And where do I find somewhere to sleep for the night? Kind of to go from one extreme to the other and to bring that diversity together. Has been a really Really fascinating.
You wouldn't be in the energy you are now, though, if that hadn't have happened. And while we don't want adversity to happen, you know, it always ends up a good ending. So where has all this led you to now, this fantastic adventure?
It has. It's really funny. When I left the travel industry, I was actually just touching back on it earlier with some work I was looking at. When I left the travel industry, I had a number of people say, so, well, where are you going though? What are you doing? Yeah, come on, really, where are you going? And you've got another job and you're not telling us, or are you pregnant? It's like, no. It was quite fascinating how people's paradigms were such that, well, you can't be leaving without something that you're going to. And I said, in the end, I said, I'm going to be an adventurer. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an adventurer. I mean, I'm not exactly getting a boat and sailing around the world like, you know, they did a couple of 100 years ago. Yeah. But let's see where this journey, this juicy journey of life is going to take me. Yeah. And right now, I'm actually just coming close to the end of 4 years of pet sitting.
Wow.
So I've gone from my goddaughters, who kind of range in age, about to have, in the next 10 days, I've got 3 of them having birthdays, but they range from nearly 12 to 9. And they've only known me in this life I've lived of pet sitting, basically, for most of them. And they're like, but where's your house, Auntie Sally? And it's like, she doesn't have a house. And it's like, yeah, but I used to. Yeah. And it's like, you know, and her parents know me from, you know, when I still was in the married life and we had, you know, all these different properties we were living in and developing and building, you know, to now this life of, you know, gypsy kind of freedom. Yeah. And it's been an interesting change through that. And I meet people and they go, so where do you live? And I'm like, Southeast Queensland.
And I just think it's really important for people to know that life still goes on without the boundaries of a secure house or a secure job. Life still goes on, and you know, that's just a confine that we've been taught, that we have to have that. But having said that, it is nice to have that physical security in some instances, but the adventure is just as important.
Yeah, well, it's like, would I love to have another home? Oh, hell yeah. But that hasn't been the journey for the last 4 years. Every time I go, right, that's it. It's coming now. This is something happens again, and it's like, hey, we need you for 3 months. Can you do it? It's like, oh, I've actually got this and this. Let me see what I can shuffle and how I can fit that in, to give other people security of knowing. And it was quite interesting, because having gone through this massive hurdle with the ending of my marriage, the ending of the businesses that we've been working in, it was such a massive shift, and the total loss of confidence and just that shattering. It was in many ways like my brain just shattered in many ways, and trying to bring this delta of everything back into a cohesion and build the confidence back again, while still keeping food on the table and a roof over my head and all those things. Yeah. It was quite a journey to do that. While maintaining this outward, everything's fine, I'm good. Yeah. And particularly, I mean, my mum's in her late 80s, so not letting that stress, that internal stress, impact elsewhere, but at the same time learn to ask for help
and receive
and assume that everybody knows what you need, because they don't.
And receive.
Big part of the journey, asking for help, getting out of the head, and the whole head, there's a word I would like to use for what the head felt like, but not knowing who may see this in the future, I won't use that word. But just the absolute, they say the caterpillar can't become the butterfly without going to mush. Yes. When you open a cocoon up, should you choose to kill that little critter on its way through, it doesn't look like a caterpillar and it doesn't look like a butterfly. No. And so going through that journey of mush, when everything just goes to mush, and having people say to me, oh, look, I really love a reading, but I don't have any money at the moment because I don't have a job. And I'd go, I don't have a corporate job either. this is my job.
Yes.
So if you'd like a reading, you need to honour that this is actually my work. This is how I'm paying for food on my table.
That's what you though. That's a personal growth in you, honouring you. And
big time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so apart from all those lessons that you're learning is also now what you help other people with, and you can help in your coaching.
Absolutely.
And it's also led you to an area with animals that you are quite surprised about.
When I did my healing training, the reconnective work, we work with people. We work with initially the work as we learn it is with people, and it's a hands-off modality. It blows my mind about what's possible with the work. And through my own life, we had, because we love to travel, we had goldfish rather than cats and dogs and horses and things, and with the goldfish, we would spend a couple of days away, and you could do that with goldfish without getting arrested or killing them or any of those things, which you can't do so much with other animals.
Yes.
And but we had some issues with, turned out that when we'd moved, even within a small community, we'd moved from, the water source was slightly different and it totally changed the pH of the fish bowl, and so I ended up doing healing with that goldfish.
Okay.
Wow, this stuff works. And I'd walk into the fish shop the next day, and I said to the guy, look, you know, what's it mean when the fish does? I'd never had fish before. What's it mean when the fish do this thing and da da da? And he goes, oh, so you're here for new fish then? And I said, no, they're okay. They've revived and they're okay. And he's like, no, when they get what you've described, they're dead. And I said, no, they're alive. What? Hang on. I said, well, I sat there healing with them and stuff happened and they're now okay. In fact, the boys went, the neighbour and my partner went out to dinner that night and to the movies, and when they came home, the fish are swimming around. It's like, oh my God, how did you get another fish? It's like, same fish. It's now working. So I discovered it worked well with animals.
Yeah.
And over the course of time, we were living at one stage out where there were horses. I actually got to work with some of the horses. I had wallabies who would sit on the lawn and they'd come in and I'd work with them as well. And I discovered that the animals would start to call me in. And through my hotel travel area, I had clients that would say, hey, can you come and house sit for me? Because I've now moved and I need someone to look after my animals. I've got to go away. And sure, okay, I've never had a dog, but sure. And so this house sitting business built up. Yeah. And as I said, for 4 years now, I've been house sitting, looking after pets. Yeah. I also look after an Airbnb for a friend, and so that's not animals, it's 2 legs, not 4 legs. Yes. But as part of it all, it's been a really interesting experience. And what I've found is more often than not, it's actually the people think it's them that are making the call and saying, can you come and look after my house, my dogs, my cats? Yeah. More often than not, I find it's actually the animals that are calling in for healing.
Yes.
And sometimes they're calling in for themselves. They're distressed or they've got something going on. Yeah. Sometimes it's for the family, that there's something going on in that environment that needs shifting.
Yeah,
and
I was fascinated when we were talking about this at dinner the other night. I was just fascinated because you think you're going there because someone's on holidays and they just want you to mind the house, but no, there's all these other layers of, you know, spirit calling you in, animals calling you in. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
I've actually worked with a couple of property developers as well where they've had issues going on and they're like, I don't understand what's going on here. You know, everything's like, yep, but you know, just the property's not moving, or we're having issues getting through council, or other things that were going on. And because of having worked doing property development as well, even though it was only a short stint, I've got a good understanding of their language in that respect as well. So it would be, you know, I'd come in and go to work. And I remember one particular property that I worked with, it was quite funny because the first time I rocked up there, I just sat in the car and went, not getting out of the car here. The energy was just so heavy and dark and gnarly. And I was like, oh, please tell me that's not the property. Yeah. And I rang the guy and I said, what's the story? He goes, oh, no, it's this bit. And I went, oh, thank God for that. I said, well, what's the story with that other house? Because it's like, I goes, oh, man, she's had so much trouble with that house. I said, yeah, it's kind of, I don't get in, as you know, Trish, I don't do the whole fear thing. I work with light. Light is what just that's what I work with. So you can tell even here it's like very light environment. And I ended up going back to this property 3 times before I said to him, okay, it's all good, it's yours, go for it. I said, I do get a message that there is something about water with this property you're going to have to do. It's something about water. It's not going to be long-term for you. I mean, they were putting in a block of apartments. And I said, long-term, it's not going to be an issue for you, but it is a requirement. You're going to have to do something now because further down the track there's going to be something, but this will clear it. Well, sure enough, the next time I caught up with him, he was telling me before they got their DA through council said that they had to put this big holding tank underneath for stormwater because everybody else's stormwater goes straight down the road and down the river or down the drains. Yeah. No, we've got to put it in. I said, I don't know why. It's not. It's going to when whatever it is that's going to happen. So who knows? Maybe there's another flood coming for Brisbane. But I said it'll be well past any timelines for you as a developer, but it will actually be required for whatever's going on. So he was like, right. So I need you out on this property, this property, this property, this property. So it was that confirmation from Spirit as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took the other lady.
It's
other
really
house
trust, isn't it, when those messages come up, because you think that's weird. It's so left of centre. But you have to, you know, you still have that impulse to pass those messages on. And when you get confirmation later on that, oh, yeah, okay, it kind of it builds up your trust for the next weird.
Oh, I've been told this citrus tree has got to go back in, and it's like they're really upset with you. And it's like, well, why? What's going on? I said, was there an orchard here or something? I keep being shown citrus trees. And he just looked at me and laughed. He goes, that whole area back in the day was citrus. It was like a citrus farm. I'm like, right. He goes, what do they need? I said, they've asked for, you know, and he said, right, we'll get you back in when we're finished and we'll work out. And when I did go back in, I said, okay, that one's in the wrong place. They need that moved. He said, that's why we put them in pots so we could. And I said, but there's also what's going on with your neighbours, because there's, and I got told I had to line up, and this ties back to crystals. I actually got told I had to put rose quartz crystals down that particular boundary. And he said, yeah, that neighbour has actually been a real problem for us. Yeah. And so sure enough, crystals went down that side of the driveway, and they'd had 100 people through. You're used to property. They'd had 100 people through in a month to inspect this place at a time when people just weren't doing inspections. And everyone else is going, man, how are you even getting people through? We're not getting anyone coming out. But he had no contract. They'd had 100 through in that month. That we did the work with the property on the Sunday. The crystals went down the Monday. They got a contract. Yeah. So
it's powerful how it works.
As I mentioned to you when we were talking earlier, I keep being given messages from Spirit at the moment about synchronicity and about the importance of noticing synchronicities.
Absolutely, yeah. Because nothing's ever by accident.
No.
Nothing's random, nothing's random. I kind of feel with your journey, you're really being placed in these positions amongst the corporate property, amongst the people who are a little bit stuck and are not quite knowing how to get in the flow. I kind of feel you're being put amongst all of those with these synchronicities to really shine that light in those darker areas. Is it?
Yeah. It's really felt like the bigger part, I guess we're all searching for our purpose, and I guess part for me of that has been my job of helping people find the light. Yeah. Particularly when they've gone through very dark times and dark patches, of finding their way. It's like dancing their way back out to the light. Yeah. One of the things that Spirit has been pushing with me at the moment, I've had a few friends that are just like, what's with it, is about CPR. Now, I don't know whether I'm meant to tell everybody they need to learn CPR or whether they're going to be presenting me. I'm hoping they're not going to be presenting me with people who need it, but just really, really important. I know you've got your heart on the wall over there, and they actually had me pick up 2 crystals to bring with me today while we're doing this. Yeah. And even yesterday, the seminar I was at was about opening up to the heart space and getting into our heart and opening even more so from the head into the heart, which is a big part of the journey for me of these last 10 plus years of actually taking that journey into the heart rather than the head. But they've had me line up to do CPR. I've now done it 3 times.
Okay.
In a matter, the first one was I was looking at moving into the space of working with disability and support work. Very much a growth industry at the moment in the support work area, and doing my training in that. And they, as part of that, I did a first aid course earlier this year. But the course that I did, they didn't give us the right line numbers. Apparently it's a 003 for first aid and a 001 for CPR. And so rather than giving us both, we just got the one for first aid. So they said, no, we need to get you to have this other one. So last week I was signed up to do a CPR course. Sure enough, went along on the Tuesday morning to do my CPR. And I'd been away previous week visiting my mum. My mum's in her mid-80s, and I'd missed a class, so it was like I had to get in and do a makeup class anyway. And I rocked into my class for my normal class in this training I'm doing, and I said, hey, what are we doing today? And they said, oh, we're doing first aid. And I went, seriously? And they said, yeah, we're about to start CPR. And I went, that's 3 times I've done CPR. What the hell? Wow. So it's been a very big message about it. And then
somewhere.
I turned on, I had the TV on for the dogs because I was going out, so we leave the TV on for the dogs. I know, yeah, they like the noise. And I walked in to see what was on, and here's Bondi Rescue, and they just pulled 2 people out of the ocean and had to do CPR, and I'm just going, okay.
Oh my goodness.
Got in the car.
Your next adventure is unfolding.
So the big message out of it was they've changed, for any of them like me who hadn't done it since last century until this year, it's 30 compressions to 2 breaths. 30 to 2 regardless of who. So whether it's children or whether it's adults, it's 30 compressions to 2 breaths.
That's actually going to be important for someone listening to this. So
someone needs to know. And the other they gave me, I'm getting goosebumps. The other one that they gave us as part of this was using that song "Staying Alive," the old Saturday Night Fever "Staying Alive."
Yes.
That's the bait to go with. So when you're doing it, it's that's there, you know, staying alive, which is kind of ironic that that's the song too. And that came on the radio last night as I got in the car.
Okay, I think that's going to be pretty important that we mentioned that in this interview. And
somebody needs to know.
It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds over the next few months. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to get the where I've got goosebumps all over me. So obviously.
Something there, yeah, for sure.
Synchronicity is important.
It is important, and it's important to watch it and be aware of it. It's the awareness of it, living in that moment. So Sally, you've got a page on Facebook called Soul Wellness Coach. This is a great place for people to connect with you if they want to see more of your work.
Definitely. I do jump on and do lives on there with the cards. I tend to play with the tarot, not so much the tarot card. I found they were way too formal for my current lifestyle. So I love working with the oracle cards. So, and as a beach babe, yes, that's my fave. As a beach babe, I love working with the magical mermaids and dolphins on the cards. So you don't find me too far from the water too often.
No,
so
that's it. And if people join your page, they will also see this wonderful adventure that you're on and all the beautiful photos and that you give. So, and they can also connect with you there to have a reading with you or to have some coaching or counselling. Yeah, CPR.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I won't have to do CPR for anybody.
So yeah, all right. Is there anything else you'd like to let people know? Have you got a final thing to inspire people before we finish up?
We're all here to have joy, so please remember to look for the light. Remember that the importance, I guess for me, one of the biggest lessons out of this whole juicy journey that I've been on is about self-love, self-nurture. And if we don't love ourselves, then why do we expect the rest of the world to do anything for us. But very much that self-love is not about ego. It's not about thinking you're better than anybody else, but it's also not about thinking you're less worthy than anybody else either. This story about in the hospital, it's not like they go around all the babies in the hospital and go, yeah, you nah, you're not getting anything. You're just going to be amazing. We all come into this world purely by being here. We're all miracles.
We're all equal.
So please remember to be good to yourself. And I think one of the big things there in that whole self-love and self-nurturing of being really conscious of how you talk to yourself.
Yes.
Our words we use have power, and we know the effect that they can have on other people. There's a couple of exercises that I love teaching people to do, even when you hurt yourself or you injure yourself, to actually love that body, love the body you're in. I've managed to have a few injuries in the last few years and stagger my medical professionals as to how fast I can heal that.
Put love into it.
Yeah, going for x-rays and having people go, well, with all what you've explained, we can't find the break and we expect there should be. And it's like, it's part of
the body has an extraordinary ability to heal itself, and it always reminds me of, when we scratch ourselves, we have no doubt that that's going to heal. But when we do something bigger, like a broken bone, the doubts all creep in, but the body will heal that just as easily as it will a cut. And we have to we are the loving power, the loving medicine behind that.
Yeah, definitely. I often give people an exercise to do where you just take your hands and just really love up on your knee. Like, it's an easy one for you to do for yourself. Just really, really love that knee. Like, just, we do it with our pets. We just sit there and pat them and play with them and really nurture and love them. And just to do that with one knee and just really, really go to town. I mean, you probably want to do it in your own privacy rather than in public.
Not out of public.
Really go to town on loving up that knee. Just really just pour love into that knee. And then stand up and just start stamping the other foot and just pushing whatever angry, yicky, whatever you can feel, just stamp that into the ground and just really, really go to town on that other leg. And then just sit back down and feel the difference between your two legs.
Interesting. That's a great exercise for everyone to do.
Feel the difference.
Please give us feedback on how you go.
And even just in that, I can feel just in now, that simple exercise, how dramatically different they can feel. Then think about how you talk to yourself. And the number of times I hear people say, oh, silly old me, or oh, damn, I'm stupid, or whatever. And it's, no. Let that one go. Think about what you're telling your body. Think about what you're telling the universe. Think about what you're telling your kids, your family, your work colleagues. Please love yourself. Love, love, love. Nurture and nourish. I've just got to go back to loving both legs now so that they balance back out again. I love you. Just
beautiful.
Really nurture and nourish yourself.
Yes.
Because then that's what we teach others to do. It's what we tell the universe that we need and expect as well.
That's it.
That would be my biggest message to everyone.
Oh, thank you. That's a beautiful way to finish up. It's been so wonderful talking with you and you sharing your journey and your stories with us. So for everyone listening, please connect with Sally on her page. All the links are here for you to connect with her and enjoy her adventure and her gorgeous work, and connect with her for some help in whatever area of life you need it right now. So
we'll help get that soul well. So soul wellness coach. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you really do shine your light out there for no matter what room you're in, even if it's a digital room like this, you really do shine your light. So thank you so much for being here, Sally.
Thank you, Trish.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, thank you everybody for joining us, and look forward to seeing you next time on Trish Rock TV. Bye for now.